Chapter 8. The princess's tears are not ordinary diamonds, but have a very special meaning to the Lancaster family. Mr. Lancaster's mother, Harrison's great-grandmother, was a descendant of the former Russian royal family. The blue princess's tears are a family heirloom of the Lancaster family, and after hundreds of years, its sentimental value has far surpassed its economic value. That year, when Mr. Lancaster's mother was being hunted down while she was pregnant, Seraphina's great-grandmother, a good friend of hers, sacrificed her life to save her friend, which also meant saving Mr. Lancaster's life. Seraphina's grandmother had lost her mother when she was still in diapers. Mrs. Lancaster's mother gave the heirloom princess's tears to her grandmother, and also promised that if the Beaumont family encountered difficulties in the future, the descendants of the Lancaster family would also do their best to help. But this promise would only have the greatest effect while the person involved, Mr. Lancaster, was still alive. If it were to be left for a few more decades, the descendants of the Lancaster family would no longer have any feelings for this diamond. Although their family was a prestigious family, the descendants would naturally follow their ancestors' teachings, but by that time, there would be no feelings left, only a dry promise. No matter what, there would still be a feeling of humiliation when bowing down to ask for help. Moreover, Lily had been in the Beaumont family for so many years, knowing the important meaning of this diamond, she had kept an eye on it for a long time. Now both her mother and younger brother were looking at her. Seraphina could guard against it for a moment, but could not guard against it for a lifetime. Then she would definitely take it out and use it. After all, Kensington's Carner was able to develop its energy storage industry because of winning this bid, not only to compete with Smith, but also to take over Smith when it was in decline. So she had to win the Max Power project. Mr. Lancaster thought for a moment, did not ask her purpose, but instead said, "Give me this diamond, don't you feel regretful?" She replied indifferently, "I just want you to buy this diamond back. It is a priceless treasure to you. If you put it on the auction market, you will feel regretful. But to me, it is just an ordinary diamond, just a little big." Mr. Lancaster did not think she was rude, on the contrary, he found her to be so genuine that it was adorable, and he was even amused by her last sentence. Harrison, who was always expressionless, also looked up at her, but only for a moment. She was so bold. After laughing, Mr. Lancaster asked again. "It's a donation anyway, why do you have to deliberately say the price is so high? 200 million is not a small number. If you want to attract my attention, this diamond is enough, there's absolutely no need to raise the price so high." She smiled, an arrogant aura appearing on her delicate face, "Because, what I want to attract is everyone's attention." She knew that in front of an experienced person like him, it was best to speak frankly and honestly, and not to play tricks, so from beginning to end, every sentence she said was very sincere, without any pretense, her whole body unconsciously exuded a majestic aura. "I just want everyone to know, a diamond worth 50 million from the Beaumont family, the Lancaster family is willing to buy it back for 250 million. She meant to let everyone see that the relationship between the two families was not ordinary. The Lancaster family agreed to back the Beaumont family. Market trust will come from this point." He looked at her deeply, then suddenly glanced at Harrison. His face was as if washed with water, clean and expressionless. He continued to say to her, "But, 200 million, this little Seraphina is too evil." The way he addressed her as little Seraphina warmed her heart, and she said shyly, 200 million is just the price of your private helicopter. If I quote a lower price, it would be disrespectful to the Lancaster family's great-grandmother." She responded quickly, and added, "This is also beneficial to the Lancaster family. This charity event, everyone is pulling down the price of the donations. Although the remaining money will be transferred to the Ocean Charity Fund, which is also charity, it is difficult to avoid the impression that this is a bribery. My diamond will help you get out of your difficult situation." Ha ha ha, interesting. Although he felt that this girl was a bit cunning, but she was straightforward, not hiding anything, not pretending to be smart. He laughed even more comfortably. "All right, I'll listen to you." However, he paused for a moment, the smile fading from the corner of his mouth. "Let's talk about it now that the diamond is out. What are your requirements?" She took a deep breath. my family wants to win the Max Power project. Okay, I can give it to you, he said softly, but then suddenly changed the subject. But little girl, let me remind you, goldfish that eat too much will die. If it was 3 or 4 years ago, Smith Transportation would have had enough strength to firmly grasp Max Power, but in recent years, Smith has lost many talented people, its asset structure is unreasonable, its production capacity is lacking, and its capital is also problematic. Trying to win such a big project, if there is a problem at one point, it could collapse completely. His voice was light but contained the strength of 1,000 soldiers. Little girl, the key thing right now is not that I won't let you do this project, but that you can't take it over. I don't hope that the project that helps you guys will eventually become a pit that will drag down the entire Beaumont family business. Her face paled slightly, but she wasn't panicking at all, and she smiled calmly. I know, the deadline to start the Max Power project is 15 months from now. What I want to ask is not for you to hand Max Power over to Smith right away, but for you to wait for me for 13 months. She took a deep breath, and said each word solemnly. I, my younger brother, and my grandmother, my family will change Smith Transportation within 13 months. 13 months later, Smith Transportation will definitely be able to take over Max Power. Hearing this, he was stunned. He saw unprecedented confidence in the eyes of this 20-year-old girl. After about 10 seconds of silence, he burst out laughing heartily. Ha ha ha, it's the Beaumont family's bloodline. Ha ha ha. This sentence shocked her. This evaluation was equivalent to the princess tears in her heart. It turned out that Grandma was right, the way to gain approval was not to follow the wind, but to be straightforward and confident in being yourself. Thinking this, she felt warm in her heart. Unconsciously a bright smile appeared on her small face. In the blink of an eye, her beautiful face was completely lit up by this pure smile. Harrison absent-mindedly raised his head, just in time to see her fresh mouth full of vitality and radiant like a summer flower. His eyes stopped for a second then left calmly like water. Mr. Lancaster looked at her smiling face, his eyes full of wrinkles also gradually filled with laughter, suddenly said, in a moment, you and Harrison will dance the opening dance of the banquet. She was shocked, calmly glanced at Harrison. This time, his handsome face had emotions, but it was a very slight frown. Her heart sank, the thoughts in her head came together. After processing at high speed, before he opened his mouth, she spoke first in a gentle tone. Grandpa, although I am trying hard to learn, my dancing ability is really not very good. Moreover, my current status is still inconvenient, and I am not accepted by the majority of people, so I hope that my first dance in front of the public will be perfect. After all, my words and actions will represent the image of the Beaumont family in the future. After hearing her say this, Mr. Lancaster felt even more that she knew the principles and had a sense of propriety, but she discovered that she had accidentally said something wrong. Because Harrison's eyes suddenly flashed, and there was a strange smile in his eyes, mixed with a faint hint of sarcasm. That's right, her words and actions represented the image of the Beaumont family, but just a few dozen minutes ago, she was still saying, I will use money to invite those high-class prostitutes to come and sleep with your current or future boyfriends, one by one, to her classmates. With that, she pulled a glass of Black Maria from the top of another friend's head. She was extremely embarrassed, and a little embarrassed, but she did not regret her actions towards Helen, she only regretted that she should not have pretended to maintain her image like that. But Mr. Lancaster did not notice that, he only praised her a few sentences and then joked to save face for his grandson. Then I won't force you any more, consider Harrison owes you a dance. Harrison looked at his grandfather as if to say, can you stop making up stories to save your grandson? She felt very happy, just right, she had thought it through before, she did not expect him to mention it so coincidentally. She immediately seized the opportunity, pretending to be sorry for refusing earlier, saying, my brother and I are going to have a birthday party soon. When that time comes, can Harrison pay me back for the opening dance? In fact, she really needed Harrison to appear at her birthday party, and if he could even dance with her, that would be even better. This 20th birthday party would be her debut to the upper class, and if the Lancaster family's nephew promoted her, her respect would increase exponentially. In her previous life, at her 20th birthday party, the Lancaster family only had one of their uncle's daughters come, and William, who was invited by his grandmother to dance with her, was completely immersed in Lily's gentleness and forgot everything else. After she finished speaking, she felt a little nervous, her eyes shifting back and forth between Harrison, who had a cold face, and his grandfather, who was smiling gently. Harrison didn't say anything, but Mr. Lancaster quickly replied, "Okay, okay. When the time comes, Harrison will go." Harrison. She immediately thanked him, as if she was afraid that Harrison would refuse. This unusually quick reaction made him glance at her again. She was in a good mood, all the goals of coming here today had been completed, and even exceeded her expectations. She said a few more words to Mr. Lancaster and then made an excuse to go out first. Walking out the door, her palms were already drenched in sweat.